All Night Productions.
Oh, it looks like I didn't get the timing quite right again, but you know, there's what, 12 seconds to go. T minus 10 seconds. 5.
The following episode of the 8 p.m. quiz may contain strong language, adult themes, and very bad jokes. Please approach it with care.
Well, hello and good evening again, everyone. You'd think after, more than 3 decades working in and adjacent to broadcast media, I would remember to turn the microphone on as I start. Hello, welcome to the 3rd and final pilot episode of the 8 p.m. quiz. I'm still Garian, and I'll be with you for the next, let's see if we can knock it off in 90 minutes, shall we? And while we're just waiting for the last few people to join us, we've only got about 15 people with us so far. So I'm going to obviously open something to drink. I hope you're doing the same. And I'll have a chat to you shortly. Someone is saying that there is echo. I don't know quite why that is. I can't detect any here, so that's a bit strange. Or are you just all saying echo to yourself to echo the thoughts? I don't know. No, I'm seriously not seeing anything that would cause an echo. No, there is. Okay. There is literally nothing happening that could cause an echo. I don't know why it's better now. When you say an echo, do you mean a repeat after a delay? Or do you mean there is a sound out there? Oh, look, this is not a good way to start the episode. I haven't even opened a drink yet. Fucking hell. I don't know what's wrong with you people sometimes. By the way, I just wish to... No, look, let me do some rules and then you can all join and some other things. Oh, it was before the music credit thing. That's nothing to do with anything. Yeah, I know why that was there. Don't tell me about things that happened 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago now. Things I have to tell you. 1, this is the 8 p.m. quiz. 2, there will be 40 questions in 2 halves, which I've labelled Part 1 and Part 2. So we'll do 20 questions. You will write down the answers at your end using paper, an electronic device, cheers, whatever. Then we'll mark them at halftime. Don't put the answers in the chat. You can put really, really funny ones, but only if they're very funny. Obviously, I will judge you if they're not funny enough. Then we'll see how you're going at halftime, obviously, and then we'll do the remaining 20 questions. You can, of course, recharge your drinks at halftime or at any stage during the program. Now, vis-a-vis last week's episode, what colour is that, people? What colour is that just there? Now, cyan, that is your actual cyan, C-Y-A-N it's spelt. And I refuse to believe, I'm still getting used to sort of pointing in the wrong direction here on the monitor, that is a greenish blue. That is just a blue. It's a bit of a shitty blue, but it's not greenish blue. Those of you who were here last week will know what that's about, and I'm not going to go into that any further. Is it Iaga-turn? Is that a capital I or a lowercase l at the start of your handle? Iaga-turn, lager-turn, possibly. I don't know. Yes, aqua. It's leopard print. This is not a leopard print hoodie. It is some pretend camouflage pattern from somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere. What else do I have to tell you? Not a lot, quite frankly. If you've got Teams, you'll probably find it. But are we going to do a lag measure thing again? Okay, lag measure. I will clap and then you will tell me how long it takes from... Oh, no, I want it to be a round number. A few more people join us. Come on. So I will clap this at 6 minutes past the hour, which is now. And this will continue. Look, I do like the sense of fashion happening, and I think the lighting is better than the last couple of episodes because I've actually got rid of the key light that was straight into my face, and I've just got this, and that seems to be less harsh. Who knew? People still haven't seen that. I'll clap now. That's 27 seconds. That's good. That's the fastest from Ms. Cat. 27 seconds lag. Lagerturn is a place on the west coast of Ireland. Excellent. Others are coming in at 39.40 seconds from David Heath and KA and Jim Campbell and others. Pete Law was off back in 45. You're going to miss the first half, mate. There you go. All right, look. And then Brendan, 54 seconds. Look, that's lovely. So, once again, 20 questions in part 1, 20 questions in part 2. We'll mark it at half-time. Judge's decision is final this week. No arguing about that. And here we go. Okay, part 1. Oh, we will get to that in due course. Cute, isn't it? It's a very easy question. I have not done a spoiler, so that's good. Question 1. The Grampians National Park in Victoria has been in the news this week. Why? This is a fairly easy one. It's got a lot of news coverage. The Grampians National Park in Victoria has been in the news this week. Why? Excuse me. Question 2. Which American company has the stock market ticker code GME? Golf Mike Echo, GME. Which US company has that stock market code? They've been in the news a lot too. This is, of course, the first round, which is the new news round. There are 5 questions in the first round, which is the new news rounds. So question 2, which US company has the stock market ticker code GME? And as a bonus, which Australian company has the same code on the Australian Securities Exchange, which also got caught up in this news story? Ginevra just said clap 2 minutes lag, 2.5. Yeah, that's pretty fierce, Ginevra. Question 2, GME, and a bonus, who in Australia is GME? Question 3 is a picture question. Ta-da! All these 3 people have been in the news this week for various reasons. I just want their names. 1 point each. This should be fairly straightforward, I think, don't you? I'll leave that up for a while. The person in the middle is not Michael Jackson. The person on the left is not Michael Jackson either, and neither is the person on the right. But these 3 people have all been in the news this week. Question 4, according to the Lowy Institute's COVID Performance Index, which was released this week, New Zealand was rated as the number 1 nation in effectively dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. My question is, where was Australia in this rating? Was it at number 5, number 8, or number 9? And as usual, when I have multiple choice, I arrange them using a random number generator to decide which order they're in, rather than trying to outthink you or out-psych you. So where was Australia in the COVID Performance Index released this week? Number 5, number 8, or number 9? And if you don't know, just know that the Lowy Institute, which is all about foreign affairs, was looking at geography, political systems, population size and economic development, and trying to rate, did any of those factors influence how well these countries did? Turns out it's complicated. So Australia, number 5, number 8 or number 9, and that was question 4, just to confuse the list. And question 5, the final new news question. In the Federal Parliament of Australia, who is the deputy leader of the Australian Labor Party? There's a question for you. Who is the deputy leader of the Australian Labor Party? Right, round 2 is 3 questions on my personal topic of the week. And this week it's balloons. We all like balloons, don't we? I love a balloon. They're made of rubbery things and you can blow them up. So, question 6, the first recorded flight of a human in a balloon was in Paris in 1783, which is amazing, isn't it? Now, the balloon was made by 2 brothers. They're very famous for this. What was their name? The surname is what I'm after. I mean, if you know their given names, you're doing very well indeed. You might get a bonus. But the 2 brothers who made the first human staffed hot air balloon. You can tell I'm avoiding saying manned because that's silly. But crewed doesn't sound right because I think they just went up. So this wasn't the one beforehand that had a pig and a chicken and something else. This was the first human balloon, 1783, built by which 2 brothers? In Paris, French. Question 7, I was fascinated to discover this. The rubber balloon was invented in 1824 by an English scientist who contributed to the study of electromagnetism and electrochemistry. And in fact, this English scientist worked out how to block electromagnetic waves, and today that method is named after him. His initials are MF, which is Mike Foxtrot in the NATO phonetic alphabet. So MF invented the rubber balloon. And interestingly, you had to assemble it yourself. If you ordered one, it came as 2 circles of rubber, which were powdered so they didn't stick to each other, except around the edge. So you kind of sealed them around the edge to make the balloon yourself. So who was MF that invented the rubber balloon? And question 8, this is a favourite in my opinion. The hot air balloon designed by sculptor Patricia Piccinini with aircraft registration VHIOQ, Victor Hotel, India, Oscar, Quebec, designed by Patricia Piccinini. It's a hot air balloon. What's its name? VHIOQ. And for a bonus point, what year was its first flight? There you go. Hot air balloon, what's its name, and its first flight. That was question 8. Question 9. 5 questions in the media round. Media covers film, television, books, music, whatever I throw in. I sometimes count sport in that because, you know, it's just another thing made for the media, right? So question 9. I reckon this is an easy one, but we'll see. That is the set from a BBC television sitcom. What is the name of the series? I think there's some good clues in there, but that is the set from a BBC sitcom. There's a hint. It was first broadcast in 2001. And I will say I got this, the BBC, because so many of us have in the quarantines been doing video conferencing from home and we want slightly more interesting backgrounds, the BBC has put more than 100 photographs of empty sets online for you to choose. There's science fiction-y ones, there's sitcom ones, there's the game shows, you know, like Strictly Come Dancing is there and all of that. So this one is from a sitcom from 2001. 1 point for the name of the sitcom. Okay, question 10. The Australian soap opera Home and Away, broadcast first in what year? Home and Away, what year did it start? I know it feels like it's been going for forever. I mean, we did do Neighbours the other episode, didn't we? So Home and Away is the other big one. What year was Home and Away first broadcast? Question 11 is a song lyrics question, but I'll only do one song this week because I faffed around forever last week. So again, we have trouble actually playing music due to copyright reasons, so I'll need to buy myself a license to do that. But here is a song lyric from 1995. A point for the title, a point for the artist. Here we go. Ahem. Ahem. Keeping it real, son, that's right. The shining star, you're my shining star, girl. Yo, New York in the house, come on. Is Brooklyn in the house? That's right. Uptown in the house. Let's go. Shaolin, are you in the house? Don't stop. Boogie Down, are you in the house? Yeah. Sacramento in the house. I like that. Atlanta, Georgia, are you in the house? Come on. West Coast, are you in the house? Japan, are you in the house? Everybody, are you in the house? Baby, baby, come on. Baby, come on. Baby, come on. Bad boy. I'm not reading all that again. You either know it or you don't. Keeping it real, son, that's right. The shining star, you're my shining star, girl. Yo, New York in the house, come on. And then a lot of people and places, are you in the house? Presumably they are. I mean, I don't know why. Seems a bit silly asking that for a recorded song, doesn't it? Maybe a live performance that'd work. From 1995, a point for the title, a point for the artist. Question 12. Here is an actor of whichever gender or whatever gender. They've starred in all these films, point for their name. The Adventures of Huck Finn, Come to Daddy, not a porn film apparently. The Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson. I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. Cooties, Grand Piano, Deep Impact, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Spy Kids 3, Game Over. Okay, so that's an actor. In all of these films, I'll run through them again. The Adventures of Huck Finn, Come to Me Daddy, Lord of the Rings trilogy, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, Cooties, Grand Piano, Deep Impact, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Spy Kids 3, Game Over. That was question 12. Question 13 is another picture question. Point each for the names of these people. Now remember, we're in the media section, so that person on the left is not a ship's captain from the Great Age of Exploration. The person in the middle, I don't know, probably not a young Rupert Murdoch. I'll leave that up. Brennan Ralph says that was the finest poetry performance at its finest. Magnificent. David Heath is not good with pop music or balloons. I'm sorry about that, but you know we're gonna move it around a bit. So who are those three people? They're all extremely famous for their work in the media. Okay, round 4 is 5 questions on old news, not new news, so old news. This is one I've explored recently. It's a multiple choice. When was the Franco-Thai War? That is, the war between France and Thailand. Obviously, they share a long border, and there was a lot of complication there. So when was the Franco-Thai War? I'll give you a multiple choice. Okay, which year did it start? Was it 1840, 1890, or 1940? So 1840, 1890, or 1940 for the Franco-Thai War. I'll pause there and have a sip because you might need to think about that for a bit or confer. But question 15 is another one of those. Not like that, but I like the which came first question for history. Which came first, the American Revolution or the French Revolution? Yeah? Which came first, the American Revolution or the French Revolution? This week I'm just going to plough through, and if I get a feel that people have been missing the questions, I'll come back, and should we go beyond a pilot, I'll do what Nick Heath does on Nick's Pub Quiz in the UK. He has an accomplice in the live chat who'll retype any questions that people have missed. So question 15, which came first, the American Revolution or the French Revolution? Question 16, a space question. We like space questions. Who was the first American to orbit the Earth in a spacecraft? Okay. Should be fairly easy. There's not many people to choose from in the early space program of the United States. Who was the first American to orbit the Earth in a spacecraft? You see there's not much happening in the chat because you're all really going hard through this, so that's good. Question 17 is a true or false question. And yeah, anyway, going to hell in a handbasket. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, going to hell in a handbasket. It's actually a back formation from the phrase, going to see Eleanor and Basco. She was a Philadelphia sex worker, and this is as documented in a booklet called Guide to the Stranger or Pocket Companion for the Fancy, containing a list of the gay houses and ladies of pleasure in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, a booklet dated 1849. So true or false, going to hell in a handbasket was originally going to see Eleanor and Basco, or Ann Basco, I don't know how to pronounce that, a Philadelphia sex worker. True or false? Question 18, another picture question. I really like doing the picture questions just simply because they're harder to do in a pub quiz, right? Question 18. Who are these three wonderful ladies? And it's a point each for the names. And I'll give you a clue. There is a theme linking these women. I don't know whether the theme linking them will help, but there they are. No, Oberon's Ghost. The BBC set was not the bill. Given how many sets the bill would have had over the years, or location shots, that is well, it could be, couldn't it? Except it's not. So who are these three ladies? I'll leave it up for a little bit longer. And I'll just mention that, how this goes beyond the pilot, we'll see. Because I think the 3 episodes have been settling down into a pattern quite nicely. The tricky bit is, it obviously takes me an amount of time, and although I find it a lot more fun than doing proper paying work, it really does compete with doing some of the other stuff. So we'll see how we go. There will, and I'll tell you next week about another short series of the 9 p.m. Edict with special guests, which we'll get coming. We'll call that the autumn season coming up. But more on that next week. So that's question 18. Who are these 3 women? Question 19, the critter question. Critter question. I haven't thought that through. You saw him before. What's this? Or her before. I don't know whether that's a boy or a girl critter, but that is a critter. What is it? I reckon that should be pretty easy. I love these. The ears are just fabulous on this critter. All right, that's enough for that critter. And the final question in part 1, question 20, is a who am I? not who I am, you know who I am. Who am I, the person being described here? I was born on the 28th of May in 1968 in Melbourne. My father was an accountant and my mother was a former ballet dancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 36 and was sent a message of support from the Prime Minister, John Howard. My current net worth in Australian dollars is $109 million. My youngest sibling is less famous and only worth $22 million. I am quite short. Who am I? Born 28 May 68, father an accountant, mother a former ballet dancer, diagnosed with breast cancer aged 36. John Howard sent a message of support. Net worth $109 million. Youngest sibling, net worth only $22 million. I am quite short. And that's question 20. That is the end of part 1. I think you've all got your answers down. So let's go back, shall we? Jody Miners thinks that one was too easy. Yeah, I think it was pretty easy too, but some of the other questions are quite hard, aren't they? Ms. Katz says she's smashing them this week. Are they easier questions? I don't know how to judge what's an easy and what's hard question, because I know things, but you know different things. And, you know, like if I put a sports question up or someone else does, I have no idea. Film questions I have to look up. I don't know. Ready to rock and roll, have your pens ready, start adding them up. Obviously, this is on your own cognizance, but, you know, if you cheat, you're only cheating yourself. Okay, question 1. The Grampians are in the news this week because there was a gathering of the National Socialist Network, a white supremacist neo-Nazi group with members in most Australian cities. I will accept Nazis for the point. I will not accept Nazis more generally than that, but Nazis, neo-Nazis for the point. Question 2. Which US company is GME? That is GameStop, which is an online gaming operation. Over the last 2 weeks, their stock price has gone up 1,200% because people on Reddit have been pushing it. So a point for GameStop, not GameSpot, which is a different thing. GameStop for a point. And an Australian company called GME Resources Limited, which is on the Australian Securities Exchange, for whatever reason, either people getting them confused and buying their shares, or people buying their shares in the hope that others would be stupid enough to buy them. Its shares went up around 50% at its peak in the last couple of days. GME Resources Limited for the second point. I don't think anyone would have got that. Question 3, the picture question. From left to right. First one, Australian of the Year, Grace Tame. I want the names here, although I'll give half a point for Australian of the Year. In the middle, American tennis player Serena Williams, who was in the news this week because she said, look, the quarantine in Melbourne's just fine, and she told Stephen Colbert, well, Australia's had no new cases. So why wouldn't you do it? And he was quite amazed. So a point there for Serena Williams. And on the right, former Government Minister Christopher Pyne, in the news today because journalists have uncovered yet another link between his consulting firm and a defence contractor that got a bunch of money when he was the minister. So a point each there for Grace Tame, half a point for Australian of the Year, point for Serena, point for the Poodle. Question 4. Australia in the COVID Performance Index, the answer is number 8 in that index. So a point for 8. The top 10, by the way, might as well go through them. New Zealand, Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand, Cyprus, Rwanda, Iceland, Australia, Latvia, Sri Lanka. And then the next 10, there's not a lot between them. The United States way down at number 94, unsurprisingly, and the UK at number 66. China not on the list because there really isn't reliable data about it, and I think Lowy Institute did about 100 countries. Fascinating charts showing how the countries' responses varied over time. Today's episode of ABC's Coronacast spoke to one of the researchers, and worth listening to. So a point there for number 8. Question 5, Deputy Leader of the Labor Party is Richard Marles, Marles. A point for Marles. Okay, balloon round. Question 6. The first recorded flight of humans in a balloon was the Montgolfier brothers. Joseph Michel and Jacques-Étienne Montgolfier, point for Montgolfier, and Joseph Michel also invented the self-actuating hydraulic ram. I wouldn't mind having a hydraulic ram every now and then myself. Meh. Question 7, the rubber balloon was invented by the English science Michael Faraday. And just as an aside, that whole thing to block electromagnetic waves we call these days the Faraday cage. That's the whole principle on which the tinfoil hat is supposedly works. So Michael Faraday there. Question 8, the hot air balloon designed by Patricia Piccinini, VHIOQ, is of course Sky Whale. The Sky Whale is its name, or Sky Whale. Okay, there it is there. We all love Sky Whale, don't we? There's another balloon coming out shortly, which is a kind of male counterpart, and they will both be seen together later this year in Canberra. So a point for Sky Whale and its first flight, a bonus point for the year 2013. Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? On to the media round. What's that? 1 point. Absolutely fabulous. Oh, and it is absolutely fabulous, but that is the name of the show, 2001. And if you look on the right at the back, you'll see the vast refrigerator full of bolly and other such things. So a point for Fab. Question 10. Home and away. First broadcast 1988 is the answer we're looking for. 1988, and if you remember our answers from the other week, Neighbours was 1985. Question 11, song lyrics. Point for the title, point for the artist. That is Mariah Carey and Fantasy. I didn't know it either. Question 12, which actor was in all of those films? The answer is Elijah Wood. All right, he would, yes, and indeed he would. Elijah Wood is the answer to that. Question 13, let's have a look at the pictures again. From left to right, that is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So I'll accept Mozart, of course. He died in his 30s, didn't he? Incredibly creative. In the middle, that is Cliff Richard, who is now 80 years old, the English pop star of times gone by. And on the right, again, quite an easy one, that is English singer-songwriter Ed Sheeran. So a point each for Mozart, Cliff Richard, and Ed Sheeran. Question 14, the Franco-Thai War. The answer you were after for the point is 1940. Quite late. Thailand, of course, has borders with what are now Laos and Cambodia, and then behind them is Vietnam. They were all French Indochina. So when France was conquered by Nazi Germany in 1940, and then Vichy France was a thing, the southern part of France was a sort of semi-independent nation, the Thai Prime Minister thought, hey, we might be able to get back some of those territories that we lost to France during the reign of King Chulalongkorn. I know how to pronounce it, Chulalongkorn, King Chulalongkorn. His reign ended in 1910. So Thailand had a go at getting the territories back. Kind of did. And then Japan came through, and then Thailand declared war on the United States and Britain. So, you know, yes, Thailand fought on the other side in World War II. So 1940 for the point. Question 15, which came first, the American Revolution or the French one? It was the American one, which kicked off in 1765 and ran for 18 years. The French one kicked off in 1789 and ran for 10 years. And in fact, it was the American Revolution which kind of inspired the French Revolution in some ways, and Benjamin Franklin went back between the two and so on. Fascinating. So a point for the American Revolution. Question 16, the first American astronaut to orbit the Earth, John Glenn, was the answer you want. He was the third American in space, but the other two, Alan Shepard and Virgil Ivan Grissom, better known as Gus Grissom, did suborbital flights. So just up. You know, the rocket goes up, the rocket comes down. So John Glenn was the first to orbit for the point. Incidentally, the Jerry Anderson series Thunderbirds, the Thunderbird pilots were named after the Mercury astronaut pilots, John, Virgil, Alan, and the others. Look them up. Bit of trivia for you there. Pete Lawler just shouted Henry Kissinger for some reason. I mean, why not? Question 18. Yeah. Oh, no. Question 17. True or false, going to hell in a handbasket is a back formation from the phrase going to see Eleanor Ann Basket. It's false. I made that up. Though the book is real. The book is real. There's a picture of the cover of the booklet from 1849 in Philadelphia. It was basically a guide to sexual pleasures. I don't think gay houses meant gay in the modern sense. I think it just meant a place of amusement and joy, all about the ladies. But I like the idea that there's like a pocket companion to the local sex workers. So that is wonderful things. Question 18. Now this is the one I think a lot of you will have had trouble with. The theme is that they all have to do with espionage in some way. On the left, that is Dame Stella Rimington, former head of MI5 in the UK from 1992 to 1996. She's now a novelist and writes some okay spy novels. So that's Stella Rimington on the left. In the middle is a woman by the name of Margareta Gertrude MacLeod, better known as Mata Hari. She was a Dutch exotic dancer who in Paris in World War I was convicted for spying for Germany. She's partially of Indonesian descent, Dutch. Indonesia was Dutch colony, etc. Well, certainly it was the Dutch East Indies then. That is Mata Hari. Interestingly, she was convicted as a spy, but there are other people who think she was not, and that the French just wanted to find someone to pin their leaks on. And certainly, I mean, she was fraternising with senior French people, you know, in the army and politics and so on. That's Mata Hari. And on the right, that is computer pioneer Grace Hopper, who eventually became Rear Admiral Grace Hopper, inventor of the programming language COBOL and a whole pile of things. Me and mine on the chat has just said my comments about Dame Stella Rimington are very generous on the when it comes to the quality of her novels. Yeah, they are a bit shit, aren't they? Nevertheless, because she was the former head of MI5, people just gobble it up. So a point each, and these were hard, for Stella Rimington, Mata Hari and Grace Hopper. Question 19, what is that? That is a bilby. Technically the greater bilby, Macrotus lagotus. Macrotus lagotus. But we just call them the bilby because the lesser bilby, Macrotus licura, became extinct in the 1950s. So that is the bilby, and in South Australia you encourage to have, rather than an Easter bunny, an Easter bilby, because they are much better and much cuter. And the final question in part one Who am I? Easy peasy, Kylie Minogue. And for the record, Kylie Minogue is 1.52 metres tall, or an even 5 feet. So that's the last question in part 1. Possible total of 29 points in part 1. So do tell us what you reckon your score was. Do the whole thing. And while you're going through that, I will do the housekeeping with the aid of this octopus, and you can kind of see me sitting in the corner there. So, obviously, as I said, this is not something that's funded by anyone in any way. It is a lovely thing if you go over to stilgarian.com/tip and throw a few dollars into the tip jar over there, stilgarian.com/tip. It's down in the description thing, you know that. I'm seeing some scores come in. David Heath 15, Miss Cat 18, Brendan Sainsbury a dozen, Jim Campbell 15 and a half. That's a pretty good thing. I see what's happening here. I need to do that. Right, I've got rid of the echo. I saw what's happened. It's a thing which switched on. I'm not going to bother explaining. Oberon's Ghost 17, me and mine 15. Okay, look, I think the top I've seen so far is 18 for Ms. Cat, so that's very... Did I see someone on 19? Did I see someone on 19? No, Little Giant 17. I fixed the echo. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. I won't bother explaining what that's about, but it's something I should have paid attention to earlier. It's a good octopus, isn't it? I mean, it's fun. Look, I was doing the thank yous. Okay, people who've supported from last week, thank you very much to Andrew McKenzie, Brendan Carruthers again, Brendan Sainsbury, Cheryl Thomas, Glasnt, Glasnt. Now, she has, I don't know how I'm meant to pronounce that, but last week she did say that she'd tip $1 for every question she got wrong, and she got 19 questions wrong in the first half, so $19 came in. Carletta's back, Katrina Zetti's back, Sam Primrose is back, and 2 people who have chosen to remain anonymous. So thank you to all of those. Thank you. I've seen a score of 20 from the Lagaturn Brains Trust. That is fantastic. That is good. 20 out of 29 is a really solid score in this quiz. That's great. So thank you for that, everyone. Refresh your drinks, and I will come back to you for a second, and then I think we'll go. We can go straight into part 2, can't we? We can go straight into part 2, but charge your glasses first. And we're right on schedule. This is fabulous. I think I'm getting the hang of this. Okay. Part 2 always kicks off with the platypus round. And Snarky Platypus has written 4 questions for us again this week. And there he is swimming around. Well, there is a platypus swimming around anyway. So there are 4 questions in the platypus round. And I think that this week they are really hard. But you let me know. Okay. Question 21. Name the 4 members of the pop group All Saints. 1 point each. That is incredibly hard, I think. The All Saints. Not the Australian medical soap opera slash... I was about to say sitcom. No, it was a soap opera. Thank you for people telling me the echo is back again. I've just worked out a way yeah, I can. It's a technical thing. When I roll a video, and another thing happens. Okay, so name the 4 members of the All Saints. I'm sorry about the echo bit. I didn't do that last time, and I'm using the same template, so I'm not quite sure what the story is there. Okay, question 21, 4 members of the All Saints. Let's move on. Question 22, how many celestial bodies are there in our solar system that are officially recognised as dwarf planets? Lagaturn is asking what was question 20. Question 20 was in the first half, and the answer was Kylie Minogue. Question 21 was about the All Saints. Question 22, how many dwarf planets are there in the solar system officially? And I'll be really crazy and say you get a point each if you can, for each one you can name. And no, I'm not telling you how many points that might be. So it's 21, it's the All Saints, a point each. Question 22, 1 point for how many dwarf planets there are, and a point each if you name them. That's really tough, isn't it? Okay, question 23. The platypus was in a mood this week. The city of Nouakchott, Nouakchott, Nouakchott. Anyway, it's the capital of a country. Which country? And I thought I set hard geography questions, right? Anyway, what's that country? That's question 23. And question 24 is a bit easier. The Greek goddess Nike is the personification, or deification, I suppose, of what thing? The Greek goddess Nike is the goddess of what? It's not shoes. Just to get in before you people, or sporting goods. So that is the okay, that is the Greek goddess Nike. For that, thank you very much. That is the end of the platypus round, and we continue part 2 with the geography round. 5 questions here. Okay, Finland. Question 25. What is the population of Finland? Is it 3.5 million, 4.5 million, or 5.5 million? Finland, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. Finland. Okay. David Heath has just said, damn it, for some reason. Fine. Question 26. Ecuador in South America. It shares its land borders with 2 countries. What are those 2 countries? 1 point each. Ecuador. Which 2 countries does it share land borders with? Need a little moment to do that. While you're catching up on those, if you need to confer, I'm just going to do a quick thing here because I have it added up how many points are available in part 2. So I'll just... 20 questions is quite a lot in each part, isn't it? 26, Ecuador, borders 2 countries. Which 2? Question 27 is about... this is one. I like this one too. Which city is furthest south? These 2 cities. Is it Cape Town in South Africa or Melbourne in Australia? Which city is furthest south? Cape Town or Melbourne? I mean, you can guess, right? I mean, do that. Question 28, very similar. Excuse me. Question 28. Which river is longer, the Nile River in Africa or the Volga River in Russia, let's call it? Which river is longer, the Nile River or the Volga River? Please don't be vulgar in your answers. Question 29. Now, okay, I got complaints after last week's episode for the map question. Nevertheless, I've put in a map question. So there is a map of Oceania. Now, how this works, I'll try and be a bit clearer this way. Okay, so on the map you can see I've labelled 8 places. And I'm going to ask you to tell me where 4 places are. So I will, to make it easier, I'll call these 4 places A, B, C and D. And you just tell me which letters correspond, which numbers, I've made this complicated already. Tell me which numbers correspond to these 4 places, right? So the other 4 are deliberately there to mislead you and to make it a little complicated and interesting. So last week we did Indonesia, and I think this fucked a few people up. So now it's Oceania. These are all areas we kind of should know about, right? Because they're our next door neighbours. So first of all, A, Fiji. Where is Fiji? First one, A, is Fiji. Which number is Fiji? B is the Solomon Islands. Who was Solomon? Don't look it up. Don't look it up now because that'll probably generate a spoiler for your answer. But I'm just curious, who was Solomon? I might look that up myself in a minute. C, Tonga. Which number corresponds to C, Tonga? And look, I will admit, I did not know many of these, and I was quite surprised with some of the answers. C, Tonga. Which number corresponds to Tonga? And D, Vanuatu. D is Vanuatu. Which area on the map is Vanuatu? I should have asked about Nauru, given Australians send people to Nauru, and we've got strong connections with Nauru to take advantage of their expertise in financial services. Me and Mine says that's a pretty shit map of Oceania. Islands, wrong shape. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not the best one. It was actually quite difficult to find one that was both at a decent resolution, but didn't have the names of the places on it. So sorry about that. David Heath wants me to slow down a bit. Shall I run through them again one more time? A is Fiji. B is Solomon Islands. Oh God, yes, I've just seen what New Britain looks like. Oh dear. C is Tonga. And D is Vanuatu. Oberon's Ghost says her knowledge of Oceania bites. Yes, that is mine. I was really embarrassed by this. Yeah, Fiji's a bit shit there, isn't it? I get the feeling this map was generated by some semi-automatic process. Yeah, sorry, me and Mine, that's where we are. Once I get into, I mean, assuming this goes beyond the pilot, because I do think this is a great question to play with, but possibly that's because I love geography and map kind of questions. I'll get some better mapping. Okay, lovely David Heath. Shall we move on to the World Affairs round? 5 questions on world affairs. Question 30. Let's go to Finland again, shall we? True or false? Here we go. It's a true or false question. These are easy, right? True or false? The Prime Minister of Finland is Ulla Löfven. Is Ulla Löfven the Prime Minister of Finland? True or false? Ms. Cat says QGIS. QGIS or QGIS? It's a GIF thing, isn't it? Geographical GIS. Yeah, I'll go, is my friend. That's quite true. Another thing to learn, but then back when I was finishing high school and going into the start of university, I really did consider cartography as a potential career. Yeah. Maybe I should have. Okay, is Ulla Löfven the Prime Minister of Finland, yes or no? Question 31. Whose place is that? A world leader has been building that for themselves, this wonderful palace, and everything you see all the way back up the hill there. Whose little garden shed is that? And for a bonus point, what is that body of water it's sitting on there? Once you get the main question, the other one, it's going to narrow it down quite a bit. Well, actually, maybe it won't. Maybe that's a clue too. Okay, whose little place is that? That's question 31. And then later up, no, I'll tell you that in a bit. Question 32, you may have heard of a little company called Apple. Well, their fourth quarter 2020 sales figures are out. Their sales were up 21% on the previous year. How's that? You'd love to have Apple shares, I suppose. Particularly if you bought them in the 1980s. So my question is, in US dollars, what was Apple's quarterly sales figure? Now, this is in US dollars. Was it $111 billion, $125 billion, or $143 billion? Gross sales figures for Apple Inc. in the fourth quarter of 2020. Was it 111, 125, or $143 billion? That is question 32. Question 33. The United Arab Emirates. In November, they cut off working visas for guest workers from which Asian country? So the Emirates, United Arab Emirates, take in a lot of guest workers because, I mean, you know, the rich locals don't want to do all of the menial work themselves. A lot of them come from a certain Asian country, and they come from all over the place. But in November, those that come from a certain Asian country were cut off. Which one? Yeah, I've contributed to that Apple figure too, Bronze Coast. Hey! It's a great shack. I didn't mean to bring that up again, but there it is. Dude, that mouse is very touchy. Okay. So question 33 was about United Arab Emirates cutting off workers from which country. Question 34 is a simple question, a simple picture question. Who's this bloke? I reckon this is relatively easy. I think if it's not easy, then it should be easy. He's a bit of an unimportant figure in world affairs, obviously, because here he is with question 34. at the end of the World Affairs round. Who is that fellow? Right. Now it's the penultimate round. 5 questions, random topics. Question 35, true or false? The Sydney Harbour Bridge is the second longest bridge in Australia. Only if you're from Sydney or, study our national symbolism, this is a thing, right? The Sydney Harbour Bridge is significant in our national psyche. We use it to sell the world. But is it the second longest bridge in Australia, true or false? Question 36. This is an amazing photograph. Where's this bridge? Yeah, isn't it incredible? Opened not that long ago in historical terms. And I know the question will come up. A point for the country. The country is an adequate answer for 1 point, but I'll give a second point if you can say where in that country. And I'll explain that once I give the answer, how I will judge that. It's a remarkable bit of engineering, isn't it? So where is that bridge? That is question 36. Question 37 is another picture question. Who are these 3 handsome fellows? Yeah. I know, it's hard to tell them apart, isn't it? But it's one of those things where, where you will groan when you figure it out. So who are these 3 significant gentlemen? Significant in different ways. Do you want that up a bit longer still? See, I don't know who is playing by themselves and who's got a team of people with them. And if you've got a team of people distributed across multiple locations, the lag must make this totally unbearable. But there's 3 people. This is question 37. Who are they? Question 38. True or false? Yeah, I've gone for a few true or false ones today, so maybe that makes it easier. The town at the geographical centre of North America is called centre. North Dakota, let's say. True or false? The town at the geographical centre of North America is called centre in North Dakota. Question 39. That's become a thing. Which city is this? Which city? An important clue, that is, it is not San Francisco. And those of you who know San Francisco will know why I'm saying that. Some of that green colour is just, I don't know, it's a thing. It's a thing they do in this city. But here's a city. It is not San Francisco. What city is it? That's question 39. And question 40 is another of those, like I did last week. I'm going to ask you what something is. And what is a Hexabrenchus? Is a Hexabrenchus hang on, question here, what please read North Dakota? the question is, for that question, 38, North Dakota, the town at the geographical centre of North America is called Center. C-E-N-T-E-R. And it's at the centre of North America. Is that true or false? Anyway, Hexabrenchus, is it a subspecies of moose found in Belarus and Ukraine, which never grows antlers with more than 6 branches on each side, and it was almost hunted to extinction in the late 1900s. I mean, 19th century, 1800s. Let me just change that so I don't make the same mistake when I'm doing the answers. So is a Hexabrenchus a type of moose? Is it B, a narrow sheet of muscle either side of the urethra and in women the vagina that's part of the pelvic floor structure? And on that, interestingly, men are more likely to suffer a hernia of the Hexabrenchus than women are. So that's B. Or C, is Hexabrenchus a bright red and yellow sea creature that can grow to nearly 1 metre long, with 2 extendable chemical sensors on its back end? So I'll summarise them again. Is a Hexabrenchus either A, a subspecies of moose found in Belarus and the Ukraine, which never grows antlers with more than 6 branches each side, almost hunted to extinction in the late 1800s? Is it B, a narrow sheet of muscle either side of the urethra and in women the vagina, part of the pelvic floor structure, and men are more likely to suffer a hernia of the Hexabrenchus than women? Or C, the Hexabrenchus is a bright red and yellow sea creature that can grow to nearly 1 metre long, which has 2 extendable chemical sensors on its back end. So Hexabrenchus, A, B, C, moose, mussel or sea creature. And that is the end of part 2. So, are you ready? I'll refill my glass if you have any quick questions. Yeah, sorry KA, that border squares instead of the island, it's a bit weird. I did try to get the better map. We'll see. And as we've seen in the chat, Pete Lawler's just said Stephen Fry for some random reason. God, that man is dreadful. I did a whole segment on a podcast a couple of years ago about just how dreadful Stephen Fry is. Okay, I think we're ready to go through the answers. Let's do it. Right. We're in the platypus round. Ms. Cat says she shouldn't have gloated because we did much worse in part 2. Yeah, part 2 was definitely the more difficult round. And I don't know, that's just how it works. Okay, in the platypus round, question 21, the 4 members of the All Saints. Well, here they are. And their names are, a point for each, Nicole Appleton, I don't know which one's which, Nicole Appleton, Natalie Appleton, Shaznay Lewis, and Melanie Blatt. That's a point each. I'm guessing that none of you knew these. Point each for them though, Nicole Appleton, Natalie Appleton, Shaznay Lewis, and Melanie Blatt. Question 22, the celestial bodies in our solar system that are currently officially recognised as dwarf planets. There are 5 of them. So you get a point for saying 5, which means there are 5 points up for grabs for each of these names. And they are in alphabetical order, he says, rearranging them. Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, for a point. Eris, for a point. All hail Eris. Haumea, Haumea, for a point. Haumea. Makemake for a point. Makemake. I assume it's pronounced Makemake rather than make. And Pluto. And Pluto. No, Pete Lawler, Uranus is not a dwarf planet. Well, yours might be. R. Yeah, the All Saints, it's all a bit worrying, isn't it? KA. Okay, so a point for the number 5 and a point each for any of these you got. Ceres, Eris, Haumea, Makemake, and Pluto. Jim Campbell says he's old. I just got Pluto and Ceres. Yeah, that's all I got when these came through on the email. So thank the Snarky Platypus for these. 23, the city of Nouakchott is the capital of Mauritania, apparently. Mauritania. Point for Mauritania. And question 24 rather. The Greek goddess Nike is the personification of victory. So a point for victory. Geography round. The population of Finland, 5.5 million for the point. 5.5 million population of Finland. Ecuador in South America shares borders with, a point for each of these, Colombia and Peru. Point each for Colombia and Peru. 27, which city is further south, Cape Town in South Africa or Melbourne in Australia? The answer is Melbourne. Cape Town is nearly 33 degrees 55 minutes south, nearly 34 degrees. Melbourne is 37 degrees 49 minutes south. I know you will memorise these numbers. I will be asking them in the final exam at the end of the year. So a point for Melbourne there. 28. Which river is longer, the Nile River or the Volga River? The answer is the Nile River by a very long margin, nearly double. The Volga is 3,530 kilometres long, but the Nile is 6,650 kilometres long, or as we say, 6,650 kilometres, or 6.65 megametres. Do we do megametres? We don't. Okay, so a point for the Nile. Question 29, the map question. Okay, I'm just jotting down a thing here to say that then adds 5 points, so that's 22 points. The map question 29, let's bring up the map. Okay, a point for each of these. A, Fiji, is 5. So a point for 5. Yeah, you're right, everyone who said the map's a bit dodgy. They're the two big fat islands of Fiji, and I'm fairly sure they don't overlap. So A, Fiji, 5. B was Solomon Islands. That's area 2. Solomon Islands, 2. So a point for that. C, Tonga, that's 6. Just to the east of Fiji. So Tonga is 6. That gets you a point. And D, Vanuatu, that's area 4 to the west of Fiji. So a point for that. So I'll run through them again. A is 5. B is 2. C is 6. D is 4. So a possible 4 points there. And to run through the rest of the numbers, 1 up there in the northwest, that's the Federated States of Micronesia. Enormous number of islands there. Number 3 is New Caledonia, which is officially part of mainland France, because of course the French. 7 is the Cook Islands, which is part of New Zealand. And 8 is French Polynesia, which is also part of France. No points for any of those 4, but you got 4 points for the ones that you got 4 points for. Is that clear? Seems clear to me. World Affairs round. Question 30. Oh, skip that. Question 30, true or false? Is Ulla Löfven the Prime Minister of Finland? False. The Prime Minister of Finland is this woman here, whose name is, I've lost my place, there we are, Sanna Marin. Sanna Marin, I believe that's pronounced. Sanna Marin, perhaps. She's the Prime Minister of Finland. Ulla Löfven is the wife of the Prime Minister of Sweden, which I just threw in to confuse you. Carl Stefan Löfven is the Prime Minister of Sweden, and Ulla Löfven is his wife. So a point for false there. Which world leader built this palace? I reckon this is easy. There's a point there for Vladimir Putin. And I think that's pretty obvious, isn't it? It looks like the kind of luscious place he'd build for himself. And a bonus point for the Black Sea. Just running through some of the things there. The one immediate, well, if you go down that long pathway behind the palace, you get to that thing with a long green area. That's an indoor ice rink with helicopter pads on the roof. Then further up the hill, you've got all of the staff quarters and barracks for the security staff, right, and things like that. And just to the kind of left of the ice rink, you'll see a kind of a modern-looking building. We're not quite sure what that is, a greenhouse, whatever. Anyway, the palace itself has cinemas. It's got a kind of girly bar with a stripper pole, because of course it does. And they're having a lot of problems. Oh, and it's also got an escape tunnel. If Putin needs to escape from the palace, there's something that goes down about roughly 10 stories, and then a tunnel out opening just on the rocky beach below the cliffs, where he can be whisked to safety. Apparently the rooms are all, marble walls and floors and whatever, but they're having a problem with mould because of the humidity from the Black Sea. I mean, you really needed to know all that about Putin's palace. So a point for Putin, a point for the Black Sea. Question 32, Apple's sales figures. It was a disappointingly low $111 billion US. So the lowest of those figures, $111 billion. That's in Australian money about $145 billion. KA saying hockey rink maybe? Actually, yeah, probably an ice hockey rink. Because Putin does play himself, doesn't he? Yeah. So, yes, ice hockey rather than ice skating. I think on the chart I saw it was just listed as an ice rink. But yeah, that would definitely be for his ice hockey passion. So 32, that's a point for 111 billion. 33, the United Arab Emirates. The answer is Pakistan. This is a huge problem for Pakistan because money sent back home by Pakistani guest workers in the United Arab Emirates is kind of Pakistan's second biggest receipts of foreign exchange. Last year it was about, 2019, it was about $5 billion US, or getting up towards 7 billion Australian dollars into Pakistan just from send home money by guest workers in the Emirates. The Emirates say Pakistan's been cut off for the COVIDs, but yeah, nah, it's really about a whole political thing and what Pakistan has been doing with other Arab nations. So a point for Pakistan for 33. Question 34 was the picture. Come on, we know who this is. This is Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, if you like, Mohammed bin Salman is fine, known to his friends and enemies as MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I'll give you a point for variance on Mohammed bin Salman, half a point if you got only Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I think that's fair. That was 34. 35, true or false? The Sydney Harbour Bridge, second longest bridge in Australia. This is true. So a point for true. The longest bridge is in fact the Macleay Bridge in New South Wales, which spans the floodplain at Frogmore and also the Macleay River at Frederickson. It's 3.2 kilometres long. Sydney Harbour Bridge, I call it 1.5 kilometres, it's 1.149 kilometres. And the third longest bridge in Australia is the Hawkesbury River Railway Bridge at Brooklyn, north of Sydney, pissy little 785 metres. So 35, a point for true. 36, where is this bridge? A point for China. Yeah. Point for China. This is the highest bridge in the world. It is 565 metres over the river below. Just have a look at this other photograph of it. That's from the side. So a point for China. It's also more than a kilometre long, nearly 1.14. Oh no, that's the other one. 1.3 kilometres long, 565 metres over a river. So a point for China, and it connects the provinces of Yunnan and Guizhou. So look, I'll give you a point if you named either of them, and 2 points if you got both. How's that? So a point for China, a point for Yunnan, and a point for Guizhou. I don't know whether that's the correct tone, but there you go. Question 37 was another photo question. And if you got that there's a bridges theme here, you would be doing well. Because on the left, for a point each of these names, on the left is actor Jeff Bridges. In the middle is his father, actor Lloyd Bridges. And I'm seeing bridge questions. I will come back to that. I will say the key is not the longest span, the longest single span, but the longest bridge. So Pete Lawler, suck it up, mate. Suck it up. Yeah, single spans is another whole thing. Okay, but back to the picture question. Question 37. On the left, actor Jeff Bridges. In the middle, his father, actor Lloyd Bridges. And on the right, English civil engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel, designer of many famous bridges, but none of those that have appeared in the quiz so far. So a point each for Jeff Bridges, Lloyd Bridges, and Isambard Kingdom Brunel, or Brunel will do. Let's not get fussy about that. You either knew who it was or you didn't. Brunel also designed railways, steamships, tunnels, enormous steamships, the Great Western Railway in the UK, a whole lot of significant things. Question 38 for a point. It's another true or false. The town at the geographical centre of North America is called Center. This is true. Center, North Dakota. Now we're talking all of North America here, not just the United States. And this is true. The figure hadn't been sorted out, or the location hadn't been sorted out since the 1930s or something. And then it was done by balancing cut-out cardboard shapes of places. But in 2017, a geographer by the name of Peter Rogerson at the University at Buffalo, did all the calculations again using modern techniques and found that, yes, this town called Center in North Dakota, was good. So a point for centre. Interestingly enough, the central street of Centre in North Dakota is Centre Street. Questions there. Lagerturn, question 37. Surname, half a point for question 37. Yeah, right. Half a point for Bridges and Brunel each. I'm being generous tonight because we have had some really tough questions, haven't we? So question 38 was a point for true. Let me just keep my running total of how many possible points there are. Question 39, what is this city? This is Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea. So a point for Pyongyang. And the last question, what is a Hexabrenchus? Is it a type of moose? Is it the sheet of muscle in the downstairs part of ladies and gentlemen? Or is it a bright red and yellow sea creature? Well, the answer is C for the point. That is a Hexabrenchus sanguineus. Hexabrenchus sanguineus. Also known as the Spanish dancer. It's a nudibranch, or if you prefer a sea slug, or if you prefer a flatworm. And that's a picture of one taken recently off Western Australia. As I say, they can grow up to nearly a metre long. It's a shame they didn't put a banana for scale into that. It's called a Hexabrenchus. That means 6 gills because apparently it has 6 gills to breathe through. And yes, it does have 2 extendable chemical sensors on its back end. You can't see them in that photograph, but nudibranchs quite often have these sticky outy bits that detect chemicals in the water. So you can call them smelling devices or chemical sensors or whatever. So that's Hexabrenchus sanguineus. Or the Spanish dancer, for obvious reasons. Particularly as they flutter along and they flap their flappy bits to swim. It does look like algae in Describe, but it's not. It's an animule. So a point there for C. For question 40. Now that's the end. By my quick count, there are 37 possible points in part 2. So there were 29 possible points in part 1. So that's 66 potential points over. Ms. Catter said flatworms and nudibranchs are quite different animals. You're quite right. It is a nudibranch or a sea slug. I wrote flatworms. It doesn't affect the answer to the question. Jim Campbell says, let us take a moment to flap our flappy bits. Pete Lawler wants a point because he hasn't been watching. That's not how this works. I mean, if you're playing football and you're just, gazing off into, sorry, I wasn't watching. Can I have a free goal? No. Population of Finland, 5.5 million, David Heath. Let me just scroll back. We're getting arguments about Uranus and Uranus and Klingons. If you have any scoring questions, get them in quickly now. I know some of you are lagging more than a minute, and I'm not sure. All right, Pete Lawler, a quarter of a point because you weren't paying attention. Come on, how many did you get out of 66? Let's see some numbers here. Most of you have stayed with us. Little Giants, 30.5 total. That's really good. No, Wolf, you can't get 2 points because you just arrived. That's ridiculous. Ms. Cat, 8 points, part 2, total 26. Oh, that really hit. Yeah, part 2 was a bit of a cunt of a round, wasn't it? And it wasn't just me. I mean, the platypus really threw some tough questions in there too. 28.5 for Oberon's Ghost, 22 for Brendan Sainsbury, 27 for me and mine, 23 for David Heath. These are all total scores coming through. David, wasn't it you who said you wanted to keep the tough questions? to make it more interesting. 26.5 for Ginevra, 29.5 for Jim Campbell. That's fantastic. Didn't I see a 30 something before? I can't even. 30.5 for Little Giants. PG says, I'm seeing, unless you're seeing, 30.5 for Little Giants is the most so far. 26.5 for Ginevra. Oh, KA got smashed in the two halves. Indy Scribe wasn't scoring, mostly lurking. That's fine too. I mean, it's kind of a bit of a fun to hang around. KA says she's no good at trivia. These aren't kind of the traditional trivia questions in many ways, though. I'm you know, messing it up a bit. So we'll see how you go. Yeah. Oh, Lagerturn team, 35.5 points. That is awesome. See, that's what team play does for you. You know, you get some people in with different knowledge and skills, and that does it. Look, I won't rabbit on too much longer. We've actually brought it in at the correct time this week. So that is the last of the 3 pilot episodes. So thank you so much for playing with me, as it were. Go to stilgarian.com/tip if you've enjoyed the show. And, you know, it doesn't have to be much, just a few bucks. You know, just think about what you generally chuck in the pot at a pub trivia or something like that. What happens next? I'm not sure. As I said, I'll have to judge how much effort it takes to do this compared to the other things in my life. Maybe every week is a bit much. Maybe I'll do it every second week or something like that. We will see. If you have suggestions, comments, whatever, bung them to me on Twitter, which I know most of you know me from there because I don't do Facebook. If you go to my website under contact, you'll see how to email me. If you do a tip, you can throw a comment in and all of that too, and we'll see how you go. Now, the music before and after the show last week was by Earl Knight, E-R-L-N-I-T-E, from Norway. I exchanged emails with him during the week. He's happy for me to use a few more of his tracks. So we'll go out with one, and I think a little more octopus. So here's another track from Earl Knight to finish up, and then we'll do the Skank Media logo, and you hear the computer say we're gone. That's lovely. Thank you, as always, for joining us, and just remember, he says, like fumbling around, have I got my finger ready on the right button for the player? Wash your hands. Good night.
plane.
The 8 p.m. quiz is a Skank Media production. Sorry.